What's going on, everybody? Michael Burry just posted his quarter one of 2025 13F filing, and we're going to be going over his holdings and what he's sold. So let's get into it. So jumping onto Dataroma, we just got, the newest information here. We see Michael Burry's holdings as of 31st of March. All he's in is Estee Lauder. So let's go over to the activity because he did have quite a bit of holdings before. Now, look at this. This is a crazy sell-off. We did see a crazy sell-off in the market, for probably a couple months. It's probably one of the biggest sell-offs in such a short time period, as well as an insane recovery just in the overall market. Now, looking through these, it looks like all Chinese stocks are out of the picture. So let's just go over the top 5 sells, I would say, because I don't really care about these. He sold them off, but let's just go through these one by one. So Alibaba will go year to date. Alibaba, he was adding to this position for quite some time. I think over a year he was buying into it. He was buying in the very low $80, $70 ranges. And guess what? He sold in the first 3 months of this year. So looking at Alibaba, he was in a range of $80 to about $150 or so. So he was probably exiting around this resistance. And, we never know. He could have potentially entered back in over the past 3 months at the sub 100, but who knows what he was doing. Overall, this position, he probably exited at almost 100% gain on average. So that's Alibaba. It's definitely interesting. He's dropping all of his Chinese holdings. So same with the Chinese. We got 2 more. Baidu. Looking at the year to date, looks like he had a range of exit anywhere from $77 to about $101. Also one of those that essentially sold off after that. I'll show you guys later in the video just something kind of interesting, just correlated to that really big sell-off that you guys have seen in the S&P 500 and in the NASDAQ. A lot of these super investors definitely did not want to be holding, at all-time highs. And like I said, definitely very interesting that we've seen the market rebound so much. But JD, also a very interesting one. This one, he probably received the most profit, I would say. He was buying this one in the $25 range, potentially even less, because I think this got down to about $20 a share, and he was buying up. We saw multiple quarters he was buying this stock. Looking at the dollar range, anywhere from $33 to about $45, so almost a 100% return if he did sell on these highs. But this one has come back down, about a 30% drop. So next one is healthcare. We'll do Molina Healthcare, and I think the rest of these we don't really have to go through. It's just interesting to see his top ones. Pinduoduo kind of falls into the same category as Baidu and JD. But Molina is an interesting one because it's healthcare, and it's interesting that he ended up selling it off. This is one of his more recent purchases, and I'm actually curious. I don't even know if he sold this at a profit because he bought this, I'm pretty sure, in quarter 4, and we can look really quick. Activity, Molina Healthcare. Actually, quarter 3. So he bought a little bit. He bought even more. His initial position, quarter 2. So if we're looking at the chart, quarter 2 would be right around here. So pretty dang high level for the initial position. Quarter 2 starts right over here. But anyways, it's pretty high price point for where he was entering. He might have probably entered end of June, which is about $300. Then he added on to the position in quarter 3, which was around, over $300 a share. And then looking at where he exited the full position, it was anywhere from $265 to Well, the highest it looks like is 334. So it seems like he most likely took a small loss on the Molina Healthcare. And, it's a little bit unfortunate because it did have a little bit more pump in it, where he probably would have gotten like a 10, 20, maybe even 30% profit. But it does look like he either barely made break even or, like I said, got a little bit of a loss on that one. Okay, so overall, just a massive sell off. Michael Burry's not really new to this. He definitely has had a lot of quarters where he did massive sell offs. This is probably the first quarter that I've seen in a long time where he essentially just leaves one stock in his portfolio. He might have potentially opened up shorts that he has already closed out because the quarter two we had the massive sell off and recovery. So that is possible, but the interesting thing is he has kept Estee Lauder and doubled down on his position. So as you can see here, he's got $13.2 million approximately in these shares. And just taking a look at, where he doubled down on it, it's not looking that great. So he doubled down either anywhere from $85 a share to, I guess, $63 a share. So that's $63 a share is the lowest that he doubled down on this. And since then, it's kind of really stayed fairly flat and down. So it's interesting that he doubled down on this. I mean, we could look at the, see how crazy of a downtrend this has had since its peak in 2020, end of 2021. So it's interesting that he's doubling down on this. It could be potentially a falling knife. But looking at valuations, it seems that the valuation might potentially not be too bad if we're looking at, let's see here. Well, actually, never mind. I was thinking of another company. This actually looks pretty terrible. So they're losing cash, and it's something that if we do go into a recession, we'll probably get hit even more. But yeah, interesting that he purchased this. They have some free cash flow, but their net income is negative. And I guess we could do a quick check of what exactly is going on with this. So, yeah, their return on invested capital has plummeted. The revenue growth has not been too bad. But overall, their earnings per share has dropped significantly since 2021 and 2022. So it's an interesting one. I mean, we could check what their margins were. They're sitting at about 10% net margin, a little bit more with free cash margin, and they've just kind of fallen down a little bit recently. We could, I guess, go to TradingView just to see if we have an economic outlook on this one. Just out of curiosity to see what Michael Burry's thinking. Like I said, since this is quarter one filing, these super investors, they're able to file basically 1.5 months after the quarter ends. So this is a little bit outdated information. It could be possible he already exited this position at a loss and already picked up other positions, but this is the most recent information that we do have. So as for analyst estimates for revenue outlook, analysts are thinking $3.25 on earnings per share in 2028, and that's like an 18 PE for revenue that's 3.5 years out from now. So just interesting to see what he's thinking with this one. We could look at price to book on this, which is the book value is not worth much. Anyways, kind of interesting to see what he's thinking. One thing that I would like to mention is that this is something that we saw earlier in the year. This is basically what smart money was doing. And guess what? A lot of smart investors were getting out of the market slowly. And retail has been buying up. And this incredible jump that we've seen overall is basically retail just buying. and a lot of these money managers were actually selling before that incredible dip, which retail has bought up. So it'll be interesting to see what else happens. If you guys want a review of Warren Buffett's or any other money managers, let me know. I'll keep them on my radar. But Michael Burry is definitely the one that I'm most interested in. I think he's an interesting guy. He's definitely outperformed the market. He's done a lot of interesting stuff like shorting during the housing crash, things like that. So I think he's the most interesting one to track. Anyways, make sure that you guys don't forget to like the video. Comment down below, like I said, which professional money manager, super investor you would actually want me to cover on these quarterly filings. And you know what? Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.